The message arrived as a burning symbol in the sky above Earth. Every screen, every orbital billboard, even the dark side of the moon, lit up with the crest of the Galactic Empire. A deep, layered alien voice rolled over the planet, translated into 100 human languages. "Humans of soul," it said. "You have grown too loud. You will now kneel, or you will vanish." On the command deck of the human flagship Odyssey, Admiral Rhea Malik watched in silence. Around her, officers stood frozen, eyes on the towering Hala of the Imperial Speaker, a tall silver-skinned alien in ornate armor, staring down as if humanity were dust. The speech continued, a list of demands, threats, and descriptions of the unstoppable Imperial fleet already on its way. The first laugh came from the navigator. It was small, half-choked, like someone trying not to cough. But in the quiet room, everyone heard it. Heads turned. The young man's face went red. "Sorry, ma'am," he muttered. "It just sounds like a bad movie trailer." For a heartbeat, Rhea said nothing. Then she smiled. The tension cracked. Someone else laughed, then another. A ripple moved across the bridge. The alien speaker kept talking about eternal submission and absolute obedience. But to human ears, it now sounded theatrical and tired. "Mute the feed," Rhea said at last, the voice cut off. The Empire's emblem still burned over Earth, but the room was theirs again. "Intelligence was right," she said. "They still think we're scared children." Commander Luis Ortega leaned on the tactical rail, grinning. "They don't know about the fleet, ma'am." "No," Rhea agreed. "They don't know we've been watching them for 20 years. She looked out at the stars, where nothing yet was visible. "Open a secure channel to Mars Yards," she said. "Wake every warship we've kept off their maps." Her smile hardened. "If the Empire wants to scare humanity," she murmured, "we'll show them how humans answer fear." The shipyards above Mars had never appeared on any alien survey. They hung in the planet's shadow, wrapped in sensor-bending fields, buried under old mining traffic and useless radio noise. To the Empire, they were just clutter human scrap, unworthy of attention. To Rhea, they were a clenched fist. "Signal received, Admiral," the yardmaster said over the holler. His beard frayed, eyes bright with a tired kind of pride. Behind him, titanic hulls floated in dry dock like sleeping giants. "You're sure? This is it?" "The Empire broadcast a death sentence to our home," Rhea replied. "This is it." He nodded once. "Then, it's about time." Orders spread like sparks in dry grass. Dock clamps, released with dull metallic thuds. Reactor cores woke with a glow that showed even through armor. Shield grids hummed alive for the first time outside of tests. Crews ran through narrow corridors, half-sipped uniforms flapping, tools in hand. Coffee packets clenched in teeth. Ortega stood beside Rhea, watching the data streams rip down the main display. 30 heavy cruisers, he counted quietly. 9 carriers. 4 dreadnoughts. All that, and they still think we're barely spaceworthy. "That's our fault," Rhea said. "We wanted them to think that." He snorted. "You really believe they bought it? Our please don't hurt us, we're harmless act." Rhea thought of years of diplomatic broadcasts, old rockets shown in museums, carefully leaked secret tech that was, in truth, 2 generations out of date. "They called us quaint," she said. "I think they bought it." An incoming ping flashed amber. "Admiral," the comms officer said. "The Empire is trying to open a direct channel. High priority demand for your presence." "Put it on," she said. Bridge display. The holler formed, the same silver-skinned official, eyes glowing with artificial menace. "Human representative," he began. "You will power down all." Rhea cut in calmly. "Hi," she said. "Before you recite the rest of your speech, I just want to ask one thing." The alien faltered. "You dare interrupt? Do you rehearse these?" she asked. "Or is it auto-generated because it sounds very copied and pasted?" Silence. Behind her, the bridge crew tried, and failed. Not to chuckle, the Empire's envoy stared, as if unable to process the tone. Rhea watched his pupils narrow. "Good," she thought. "Let them feel something new." Confusion. The Empire's fleet arrived 3 days later. They slipped into soul-like knives, dark holes cutting across the stars. Hundreds of ships, arrow-shaped destroyers, broad carriers, a central command ship that was almost a small moon. On Earth, people stared up at the bright streaks and felt old fear rise in their bones. On the Odyssey, Rhea leaned forward over the tactical table. "Status?" she asked. "Empire fleet exiting FTL," Ortega said. "They're forming a wall between us and Earth." Classic intimidation posture. "Of course they are," Rhea murmured. The enemy transmitted another message. This time, it went system-wide. To Earth, the colonies, the stations. "Humans," the voice boomed again. "This is your final warning. Power down your vessels, and prepare for Rhea," gestured to Cum's overlay. Her own voice cut in over the Empire's, sharing the same channel. "Hi, sorry," she said, "you're blocking traffic. Any chance you can move that armada a little to the left? You're right on top of our favorite sunrise." On Earth, people stopped holding their breath. Did she just joke? The Empire's command ship hesitated. Their voice turned sharp. "You are in no position to make humor. Your primitive vessels," Primitive Ortega muttered. "That's just rude." Rhea raised her hand. "All human ships," she said on the secure band. "Mark this moment. When I give the signal, open public channels. I want everyone to hear you." "Everyone, ma'am?" a captain asked. "Everyone," she said. "If they came to scare us, then let's show them how humans sound when we're not scared." The Empire's main cannon arrays powered up, glowing like rows of angry suns. "Fire control," Rhea said quietly. "Lock stutter jumps. Locked." "On my mark." The alien voice rose again, now more irritated than grand. "Humans of soul, you stand before the end of your mark." Rhea whispered, "Dot," in a flash of blue light. The hidden human fleet slid out of dark space. Warships unfolded around the Empire's formation. Like cards snapped onto a table, sleek, angular hulls, rotating shield rings. Reactor glow painted across armor in blues and golds. Every human ship opened public. Comes. Laughter flooded the system, real laughter, nervous, wild, fearless. Hundreds of captains, pilots, engineers, marines. Some howled with disbelief. Some chuckled low. Some laughed because they were terrified, and this was how they refused to break. On Earth, people heard it and felt something ignite. The Empire heard it and, for the first time, faltered. "What is this response?" the envoy demanded. Rhea smiled into the holler. "You came all this way to frighten us," she said. "This is us saying no." The first volley lit the void. Imperial beams cut across space, white-hot lines that turned stray rock to vapor. Human ships danced between them, vanishing in stutter jumps, reappearing at strange angles. Odyssey, port shield, at 80%. Someone called. "Hold steady," Rhea answered. The bridge trembled as near misses clawed at their defenses. Sparks rained from an overhead panel. A junior officer flinched, then cursed under his breath, trying to wipe dust from his console with his sleeve. "Relax your shoulders, Hamid," Ortega said beside him, voice surprisingly calm. "You'll pull something before they even hit us." Hamid exhaled and shook out his shoulders. On the main display, one of the human cruisers took a full blast to the bow. Its shields screamed blue, collapsed, and the ship spun away trailing fire. "Comes with Darwin?" Rhea asked. "Still up," came the answer. "Captain says he can hold, but they've lost forward guns." "Tell him he's done enough on the front line," she said softly. "Order him to fall back and guard the transports." This was the part no one outside the fleet knew. Behind the dazzling tactics, there was the quiet work of keeping people alive. A warning flashed. The Empire's central moonship was unfolding, something a ringed structure like a steel flower, opening slowly. "What are they doing?" Ortega murmured. A pulse hit every human hull at once. For a heartbeat, Rhea felt it in her bones. A cold weight, like standing on the edge of an endless drop. Her hands shook. Old childhood fears rose. Dark water, empty houses, the thought of dying unseen. Crew members froze. A few gasped. One of the junior techs made a small, frightened sound. Fear projector, Ortega said hoarsely. They're broadcasting raw emotion right into our nervous systems. Rhea's breathing tightened. For a moment, the Empire's plan worked. The room felt smaller, the walls closer, the enemy larger. She saw it clearly, an entire species controlled by this feeling. Bowing to the Empire to make it stop. No, she whispered. She dug her nails into her palm until pain cut through the haze. Listen to me, she said loudly, voice shaking but strong. This feeling, we've lived with it forever. We call it anxiety. We have medicine, jokes, and late-night snacks for it. A few people stared at her, confused, still trembling. Look around, she said. You're still here. You're still breathing. You're still at your station. Her mouth twitched into a grin she barely felt. Congratulations, she added. You're afraid? And you're still doing your job? That's called being human. Someone laughed a sharp, defiant sound. The spell cracked again. Rhea knew they couldn't endure that psychic pressure forever. Ortega, she said. How much data have we gathered on that fear field? Enough to hate it, he replied. Maybe enough to hack it. Good, I want it. He blinked. You want their fear cannon? I want to give it back to them, she said. But not the way they expect. Within minutes, half the ship's AI cores were crunching patterns. Human neuroscientists on Luna joined the link, feeding old research into how humans responded to fear, to gallows humor. Two shared laughter. Lines of code streamed across the displays. Admiral Ortega said slowly, eyes wide, we might be able to overlay their signal, replace what they send with our own. With what? Hamid asked, still pale but focused now. Rhea thought of Earth's cities watching the sky, of people holding each other, of warships full of tired, stubborn humans who laughed in the face of terror. With us, she said simply. With how we feel when we choose not to be controlled by fear. The Odyssey shifted position, inching closer to the Empire's central ship. They'll tear us apart if we get much nearer, Ortega warned. Then we won't get near, Rhea replied. We'll stutter jump through their firing arc. Short jumps, unpredictable, like a drunk beep. He stared at the plotted path and groaned. You want my pilots to throw up inside their helmets. Tell them they can complain after we win. She opened fleet comms. This is Rhea Mullick, she said. We're going to hijack the Empire's fear machine. While we do, keep laughing. Keep talking, tell jokes. Sing if you must. Don't let them define the sound of this battle. A pilot's voice came back at once. Already ahead of you, Admiral. I just told my squad I'd name my next ship Mild Anxiety. They hate it. More laughter. The channel filled with nonsense, half-jokes, curses, promises to buy each other drinks if they survived. The Odyssey plunged into its insane, zigzag path. Enemy beams slashed past, always a fraction of a second late. The dreadnought's hull groaned. Shields flared, but they kept moving. Now, Ortega shouted, signal graft ready. Rhea's fingers danced over the command input. The human overlay slammed into the Empire's fear projector. For a moment, nothing changed. Then the Empire felt it. Every alien on those ships, bred to control and obey, linked to the same emotional net, suddenly received something they had never known. Fear that did not lead to surrender. Fear wrapped in stubborn laughter. Fear standing at a hospital bed. Fear holding a friend's hand. Fear on a burning world saying, not yet. On their bridges, Imperial officers staggered. One dropped his weapon as images that were not his own flashed through his mind. Human children learning to swim, coughing, splashing, then laughing as they conquered the water. What is this? One hissed. A junior alien trembled. I think it's how they feel, fear, he whispered. And keep going anyway. Their formation broke, the Empire's wall of ships cracked like glass. Some tried to regroup, others pulled back, engines flaring wild. A few simply drifted, stunned crews unable to process what they were feeling. Human warships moved through the gaps, not as predators, but as something more unsettling. Fighters who had already decided they would not live on their knees, Target their guns, not their reactors, Rhea ordered. We're not here to slaughter a stunned enemy. We're here to end this. One by one, Imperial cannons went dark. Weapon mounts burned away. Engines sputtered into forced shutdowns. At last, only the central command ship remained armed. It turned slowly, as if unsure whether to flee or attack. Open a direct channel, Rhea said. The Imperial commander appeared, taller than the envoy. Armor-scarred eyes raw from the feedback of the broken fear net. You changed our weapon, he rasped. You contaminated it with your chaos. Rhea met his gaze. We shared how we live with fear, she said. You tried to make it something that ends us. For us, it's something we carry and keep walking. He stared at her, breathing hard. When we built that projector, he said, we made whole worlds kneel. We thought we understood every mind. But yours? He shook his head. You laughed. Of course we laughed, Ortega muttered off-screen. Your speech was terrible. The corner of Rhea's mouth twitched. You came to our home, she said more softly. You told our children they would vanish. Do you understand why we can't just forget that? The commander's jaw tightened. Then finish it. Prove your threat is greater than ours. No, Rhea said. Silence stretched between them. No. He repeated. We're not you, she answered. You attacked us with fear. We answered with who we are. That includes mercy. She leaned closer to the Halla. Take your ships. Go home. Tell your rulers that their strongest weapon failed on the smallest world they thought mattered. Tell them we won't be ruled by fear. And if they come again? He asked. Rhea's eyes were steady. Then they will hear the same thing you heard today, she said. A planet full of people who are scared. And laughing anyway. On Earth, the burning Imperial symbol finally flickered and died in its place. The sky filled with streaks of light as human ships curved overhead, engines glowing, hulls scarred but unbroken. Children pointed and cheered. Old men and women cried quietly. Friends hugged in crowded streets. Some people simply sat down and shook, then laughed because they were alive. On the Odyssey, Rhea stood alone at the viewing port for a moment. Watching her home turn slowly below, Ortega joined her, hands in his pockets. We really won by weaponizing our bad coping mechanisms, he said. She huffed a tired laugh. Don't say that in the history books. He glanced at her. What will they say, then? She thought of the fear projector, turned into a window, of the Empire, catching a glimpse of what it meant to be human and stepping back. They'll say, the Empire tried to scare us, she replied, and humanity answered the only way it knows how. Rhea watched a line of rescue shuttles peel away toward a damaged cruiser. Tiny and brave against the stars. With ships, she said softly. With stubborn hearts. And with laughter that refused to go quiet. Somewhere in the distant dark, beyond any telescope's reach, stories started to spread about a small world that laughed when the great empire came with terror in its hands, and the galaxy, for the first time in a very long while, began to wonder what humans might do next.